All right. So I just wanted to say hello and welcome everyone on this fine afternoon. And we've got some beautiful weather here. So thank you all for coming today. And I'm so glad we can all be here today to celebrate. I'm Cindy Torstveit. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities Planning and Management, and I'll be your host and MC today. Our entire division has been working very hard to move out of the service and service annex building. And as you can see, as some trucks have gone by, in true FP&M fashion, we're still working today. But I'm really glad we're all taking some time out of our busy schedules to mark this occasion and to commemorate these buildings and time on campus and the important work that our employees in these facilities over the years to support UW-Madison. So today we're celebrating our FP&M physical plant employees, those who are working today, as well as our colleagues from past years. But we're also commemorating more than 100 years of history here, since 1909, when the annex was built and as a heating plant. These buildings have been the primary base for physical plant, being tweaked and changed to fit our current needs, technologies, and tools. And now the university is embarking on a major turning point for this space, and losing this home is bittersweet. The service and service annex buildings are special places. They've held so much rich history, and even their names speak to what the heart of physical plant is all about, which is service. So having to leave this place, which has been physical plant's home for more than a century, is hard. But one thing that I've found, as corny as it may sound, is that home is really where the heart is. And we'll miss these. Oops. Give them a second. But home is really where the heart is. And while we'll miss these buildings, and we're working with campus leaders to advance a new long-term home for FP&M as part of our campus master plan, home isn't really the creaky stairwells in these buildings, though, or the oldest continuously operating elevator on campus. With most of our physical plant staff relocated and the rest moving soon, we're still providing the services campus needs. That's the heart of physical plant. It's the day in, day out work you do, the trades you keep alive, the teamwork you count on. No matter where you're located, you are all the heart of campus. And I'm proud to serve you and UW-Madison with you. So before I introduce our first speaker, I want to make sure we thank the planning committee made up of current and past FP&M employees who worked together to make this day here today happen. So special thanks to Margaret Tennyson, Jim Bogan, Chris Ackerbauer, Gary Brown, Kenny Filing, Nicole Frick, John Harrod, Paul Jasinski, Jenny Jerome, Steve Wildick, Lori Wilson, and Matt Warrenson. Thank you all so much for putting all of this together. So now our next speaker is one busy woman. And as she prepares to leave UW-Madison for Northwestern in a couple of weeks, she's in even more demand than usual. So I'm honored to have her here with us today. Rebecca Blank has served as Chancellor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison since 2013. In her time here, she has presided over a major effort to expand access and improve educational outcomes, making sure that students are prepared to succeed in a rapidly changing economy. Under her leadership, UW has improved graduation rates, reduced student debt levels, expanded online learning, and launched Bucky's Tuition Promise, assisting low-income in-state students. At the same time, she has worked to maintain UW-Madison's position as a global leader in innovation and research, nurturing entrepreneurship and driving economic development. She understands the importance of the built environment to meet the mission of the university and championed renovations to our existing buildings and bringing new modern buildings to campus, resulting in more than $1.4 trillion in construction on campus during her tenure. Chancellor Blank is an economist who has worked in 3 different presidential administrations. She holds a doctoral degree from MIT and has served on the faculty at Princeton, Northwestern, and the University of Michigan, where she was the dean of the Ford School of Public Policy. She's our chancellor for just a few more weeks, so I'm pleased she could make it to commemorate these facilities with us. Please join me in welcoming Chancellor Rebecca Blank.
Good morning, everyone. It is great to see all of you out here. I cannot quite imagine this corner without this big building on it, but we will very soon see what that looks like. And I will tell you, I am just awestruck at the fact that all of you have kept this project on time, and particular thanks to Rob Kramer and all of his team who report to me every 2 weeks about what's late and what isn't and what has to get moved. And I know it's been a Herculean effort, but thanks for everything that you've done. As Cindy mentioned, I'm going to be leaving UW-Madison in a couple of weeks, and I've spent some time thinking about, what are some of the real memories from these last 9 years. A lot of them, not surprisingly, involve facilities and facility staff. When Wisconsin got colder than the Antarctica in 2019, we had 30 floods in 28 different buildings. Some of you remember that. When it snowed 2 feet before December commencement on my first year here, every sidewalk was cleared for graduates and their families by 9 o'clock that morning. And I don't know what I have to say about the chemistry building or the Babcock Dairy building or any other building construction crises that we faced. They were perfectly captured by Edward Murphy when he articulated Murphy's Law as, if there is more than one way to do a job, and one of those ways will end in disaster, somebody's going to do it that way. But our campus, of course, needs one more law. Don't worry, our outstanding staff will be there to know how to fix it. And you folks have fixed it time and again, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. What you do, of course, does a lot more than just avert disasters and handle crises. You've really kept us moving as a campus. You made sure our research labs functioned safely. You've made sure our classrooms were safe and the HVAC systems were working in 2 years of a pandemic. You make sure that the places where people gather are places they want to be in and are attractive. That's not a small task when you've got 67,000 students, faculty, and staff here, which makes us one of the 10 largest cities in the state of Wisconsin. But your contribution goes not just beyond crises and not just beyond functioning, but also to really making this a beautiful place. We're consistently ranked among one of the most beautiful campuses in America, and we deserve it when you look around. This is a place where, as one website put it, even in the dead of winter, students look around and say, man, this place is spectacular. I am so glad I didn't go to Michigan. Yeah, it's much prettier than Michigan. I've been there. So we're now on the verge of demolishing this building. And it's been a lot of things to the university over many of the years. It's provided heat. It's given a place to stockpile construction. I understand there was a very large room full of all the leftover tile from the last 100 years that had to get cleaned out. And for many of you, this building has been where you worked, day in and day out. And I know it's not easy to make changes that are being made and to move into another home, but I do want to let you know that I see it. I understand that you've made some sacrifices, and I sure understand you've worked very hard to make this transition work. So I was glad to hear that one of the pieces of the building that's going to be saved is that word service carved in stone above the annex doorway, which is why this is called the service building. It is difficult to think of a more perfect motto for this group and for FP&M. So let me close as I began by simply saying thank you. Thank you to FP&M. Thank you to the physical plant staff, along with the employees from the Office of Strategic Consulting, for all the tireless work you've done to help move forward our new computer data and information science building. And thank you to the many other campus partners who help keep us on track and on budget whenever we hit any facilities crisis that is there. The university is very fortunate to have all of you, and thank you for everything you have done.
Thank you, Chancellor Blank. So next we're going to hear from Physical Plant Emeritus Executive Director John Harrod. John led physical plant for more than 2 decades, from 1991 to 2012, operating with the core value that our business is taking care of facilities, but our true assets are the people we work with who take care of those facilities. John is the person many retirees here today think of as the director when they think of their career here. He led many initiatives, including developing the first campus utilities master plan. He even returned to FP&M after his retirement to manage the Charter Street Heating Plant capital project. And he continues to help by serving on the planning committee for this event today. Thank you, John. Please come up and say a few words.
Thank you all very much. And first, on behalf of all of you here, I want to acknowledge the university, FP&M, and Physical Plant for sponsoring and hosting this event. I think it's really special that we are all able to come together at a time when we're commemorating buildings that have served us well for 100 years, but also are recognizing those of all of you who have been here not necessarily 100 years, some of us feel like it maybe, but have been here a long time and have served this institution well also. It's the people of Physical Plant that have been housed in this facility that really care about what's going on. You know, there's a sign in there that talks about we care for our facilities, we care for our fellow employees, we care for our environment. We make things happen. We're Physical Plant, and that's what we do. And it's for all of you that we say thanks. Now, we're here to tell some stories, and I hope you have a chance to do that and have them recorded, but I have one I need to share. It happened about the second week that I came to campus. I was sitting in my office, and the lights went out. And I thought, oh no, this is not good. I paused for a while. Still the lights didn't come on, so I stepped out into the hallway, and Bob Lindsay, whose office was right next to mine, just came out and said, we have a problem at the Randall Street substation. A transformer just blew up, and the whole south of campus is out of power. So I said, where is that? Show me where it is. We walked out the back door, right down the alley, and right there stood the substation. And right over there stood a green building housing the MG&E switchgear that brought all the power onto campus to the south end of campus. Around the substation, much like that fence, was a big chain link fence. That chain link fence said, danger, keep out, high voltage. We were looking at it, and just like that, out of the back door of Brogdon Hall stormed a professor in a white coat, and he was not coming to pay us a social visit. He was quite unhappy, and he wanted to know exactly what was going on here and who was in charge. The eyes turned to me, and I began to wonder, now what am I going to say? And just like that, from behind the fence walked Kyle Green. Remember Kyle Green, his floppy hat, horn-rimmed glasses? He was the senior seasoned electrical engineer coming out, and he met us in the parking lot and said, well, we cooked another one. And I thought, now, just exactly what did he mean by that? Another transformer failed? No, he went on to explain a squirrel got into the transformer in the substation, shorted everything out, system was down, but the electricians would have it up and running in about 10 minutes. He turned around and walked back into the substation to get to work. That totally diffused the situation. The professor shook his head, turned around and walked back in the building, and I thought, thank goodness we have people who know what to do when the times come. So that was one story. Kyle Green appreciates saving my hide at that particular time. Now there's a side story to that. That was a canned presentation or speech that Kyle kept in his hip pocket whenever there was an issue with an electrical outage. Those darn squirrels got to us. And the story or rumor has it that Kyle kept a squirrel frozen in the refrigerator up in the electric shop just in case he needed a prop. You never know when you might have something, a need like that. Well, time went on. Actually, we found out and wanted to check to find out what happened with that professor's lab, and it turns out they did have a battery pack in there to be able to run the experiments that they had going, but the battery pack was in the wrong place, and one of the technicians in the lab just decided to unplug it and move it to a different location. So that part of the system, that's why it failed. So now let me carry on to another story real quick. This one I think many of you will appreciate. Again, it was an event similar to this at the holiday Christmas party. Everybody had gathered, everybody was feasting. Shops had been cleared, the workbenches had been cleared. I'd gone through the food line. I went into my office and sat down. Heard somebody walking down the hall. There was a commotion outside. First stopping down by where Phil Mahalski had his office, then stopping where Bob Lindsay had his office, and then coming in and stopping at my office. And no, it was not Santa Claus that was making this commotion. It was Frank Rice, my predecessor of 20 years. Frank Rice looked at me and he said, "John, I have one thing to say for you." And I thought, oh no, here it comes. He's going to tell me how to run the place. He said, "Start planning your retirement now." And what do you mean by that? He turned around and walked out and enjoyed the festivities. And I wondered for the next 20 years just exactly what Frank was saying when he said, "Start planning your retirement now." When the retirement time came, I got it. I understood it. Many of you probably understand it too. The time you have here flies by so fast that you won't know what's really happened to you. So as I see and talk to those who have retired, I salute you and I hope you're having a good time. Those of you that are here that are thinking about it, do it. Those of you that are going to be here for a while, carry on in the tradition of physical plant and keep up all the great work. Oh, and start planning your retirement now. Thank you. Thanks for the memories.
Thanks, John. So last, we've got Jim Bogan. As the interim executive director, Jim serves as the physical plant's leader. Jim has a long history with facilities at the state of Wisconsin Department of Administration, our own transportation services, and of course with physical plant. Last December, I was pleased to pass the baton to Jim when I left the interim executive director role to become associate vice chancellor, and he's been a key player in helping FP&M meet our goals for these relocations. Please join me in welcoming Jim Bogan.
Okay, improvise, adapt, and overcome. Thank you, Cindy. Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank Physical Plant very much for the acceptance that I've been shown as I fill in the director role. I have to say that John Harrod set a personal example for me that I strive to live up to every day. Thank you, John. As we're planning this event, I was able to take a look at the timeline in the service building that outlines all of the Physical Plant executive directors from the past 100 years. Mark's father being one of them, Mark Rice. I am honored to be the current leader and last steward of the service building and service annex, and it's humbling to see the long, distinguished line that came before me. Relocating from these buildings and preparing for this event has given me and the committee a chance to much better learn and appreciate the stories of these facilities and all of you. We've been unearthing photos, artifacts, and listening to memories. One particular artifact is a logbook kept by the paint shop supervision. It began in 1918 and runs through 1970. The facts and social entries listed are fascinating, and they really reflect the world and community of UW and Madison. These histories are important. They're vital to Physical Plant and UW-Madison. To make sure we save these memories, we're collecting stories that will be stored in the UW archives for future generations. A lot of amazing things have happened in this area and with this crowd, and we want to hear from you. All today, we have 2 interview rooms running on the 4th floor of the service building. We've already heard some great stories, and I know you have memories you can talk about. It's not anything fancy. You just sit in a room and chat with an interviewer. If you're not sure what to say, they'll have questions, or you can just sit down and tell your stories. If you're interested, see the folks at the information table right here, the check-in table, or at the loading dock in the main floor of the service building. You can talk for 15 minutes or an hour. It's up to you. If you can't stay to talk today, please check in at the tables. They can set up another time to chat on campus or on a video call. Either way, I hope you'll share with UW-Madison, the state, what happened here, the historical events you witnessed, the work you did, the difference physical plant made. And last but not least, I have a few announcements. As you can see, the area remains a busy hub of activity and the buildings are more than 100 years old. Please avoid any areas that have been cordoned off or active moving and loading zones to keep yourself safe. We have some yellow tape put up. Otherwise, the buildings are open for you to walk through. All the floors of the service building are open. We've got some great old photos to look at in there, but please pay attention to the signage and do not use the freight elevator. There is a passenger elevator. The first floor of the service annex is open to walk around, but since we have a bit of a blockade right over here moving the machine shop out, please avoid that area and either walk through the service building or loop around the block to get to the service annex. The accessible bathroom is available in the back corner of this area here. And then, of course, inside the service building, we have the restrooms available too. They're just not as accessible. The coins on the table that are inside the plastic sleeves were designed and produced by physical plant employees to commemorate the building's time on campus. Please take one with you today. If you're interested in a brick from the service building, they are available at the loading dock towards the front of the building. They're on a pallet. There's about 200 of them there. Just take one if you're interested. We hope you'll stay as long as you want, but the free parking shuttle will return you to lot 17 until 2:15 today. If you need the shuttle to come here, just check in at the welcome desk and they'll call it for you. Don't forget, visit the welcome table or the table inside by the photos to set up your time to share your story. Thank you and enjoy. Thank you all for being here.